Fantastic. Yeah, so I'm a 31-year-old, born and raised in Cincinnati. I love the city, which is why I came back to Cincinnati. I think right now we're in a place where we can do some really cool stuff here in Cincinnati, and really start creating what 10 years from now looks like. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to come back here and really get my hands dirty in the work. I grew up in a small neighborhood called Wyoming, and a lot of my family grew up in Lincoln Heights. And I saw a lot of my family members have great dreams and entrepreneurial ideas, but too often they did not have the support or the resource to really have their dreams become a reality. And as we moved back over to Rhine, we'd go out to these establishments, and on the walk home, we realized that folks that looked like us were not really going to the bars they were going to the restaurants, or having an opportunity to really partake in what's happening here in Over the Rhine. So we wanted to do something to change that, and we had a chance to pitch our idea at this event called Fuel the Fire at Rheingeist about 4 years ago now. And I brought my parents, Derek brought his girlfriend at the time, and it was a vote-based competition, and somehow we won. So from there we realized that there were some legs behind this idea, and next day we brought in our third co-founder, Alan Woods, and from there we've been just pushing forward. Sure. So Derek and I met in college. I believe it was my second year there. He just transferred in, and I remember meeting him at a party. He was a guy with a polo shirt on. I was like, oh, this guy looks, cool. So we met, talked about life, and realized that we had a nice vibe together. So he quickly became one of my best friends in college. Continuing on after college, we continued to talk about all these ideas we had. We even had one idea while we were finishing up college that was a huge failure, which was awesome. I think it was a huge learning point for us, and a point for us to grow and fail forward. It was the idea to do an after-school program at one of the schools in Springfield, Ohio, where our university was. And I remember we actually went down here, pitched our idea to a foundation here in Cincinnati, and essentially were laughed out of the meeting. And it was, honestly a devastating meeting, but it was one of those opportunities for us to actually figure out that we didn't have all the answers, and that we need to step back, learn a little more. But then I think we were stronger because of it. And now one of the awesome pieces are that they are one of our current funders at this point. So circling back, 6 years later, we were actually getting funded by the organization we were laughed out of. But yeah, then Derek actually met Alan in Indianapolis with some of their work they were doing there around entrepreneurship as well. So they became close buddies. And Alan actually had moved here to Cincinnati before Derek had. And when we got this idea, Derek was like, we got to bring Alan on. So immediately we had the three founders brought in together, and everyone had their own special sauce I think they brought to the table. So it was a perfect team from the beginning. Absolutely. So when Derek moved to Cincinnati, he actually lived on my couch for the first 2 months. And it was the summer, and during the summer we were like, hey, we're just gonna go out every night for some reason. So every night we would literally go out, but on these walks to these bars, we'd have these conversations about all the issues that we were seeing in our city, everything that could be better. And we talked about it enough that at a certain point we were like, if we're gonna talk about this, we need to do something about it. And at the time we were working at an organization doing educational system levels work across the country, and we took a lot of that knowledge that we were learning to help push forward this idea as well. And from there, we started building partnerships on the ground, meeting every chance we had a chance to meet with somebody. We were meeting for coffee, lunch, dinner, and had a chance to pitch our idea. And from there, we've been cranking out. I think we're finishing up our 13th class now, and pitch night will be in about a month from now. Right, so this idea has expanded drastically. When we first started, it was just called the Over the Rhine Entrepreneurship Program, and right away we realized that this could be much more than just a class. So from there we realized to really fully support entrepreneurs, especially underrepresented entrepreneurs, we need to bring a lot more additional support in. And one of those pieces, we're starting a pop-up space, so folks had a chance to test out their idea in real time, for a lot lower risk, and hopefully fail forward and get their name out there, make some money. And then additionally, we started learning that after the program, we didn't want to just leave entrepreneurs out to the wild. So we started an alumni network. So all of our alumni are supported, and they're building a family essentially of support amongst each other, which has been awesome as well. And then thirdly, we started what we call the Iron Chest Fund, which is a fund it's very similar to a friends and family experience. So say you have a rich uncle, a lot of times you can call your rich uncle, say, hey, can I borrow $5,000 to start this business? A lot of the entrepreneurships coming through our program don't have that rich uncle. So we want to make it easier for folks to access these funds to start and grow their businesses. So we started the Iron Chest Fund about 5 months ago now. Yeah, so one of our first loan recipients was a lady named Rebecca. She runs Paleolicious. She just started up a restaurant kiosk in the bottom of the Scripps building, and it was to help her get some of the equipment and operating materials started, and she's already paying back the loan. Business is going well, and it's exciting to see her continuously grow as well. It varies. So I mean, typically it's between $10,000 and $50,000 loans. That's one of the cool parts. We had a wide variety of folks. We start off with a very generous individual who donated $50,000 to get it started, and from there we wanted to launch a community campaign. So last November we did what we called the 100 for 100 campaign, with the goal of getting 100 individuals like myself and other community members to donate $100 to raise $10,000. From there we ended up getting, I think, about 125 folks putting in money and raised about $25,000, which was really cool to see the community come around just this idea and have faith in the entrepreneurs that they're going to use the money as wisely as possible to really make their business grow. It is not contingent on them keeping the business in Cincinnati. Obviously, we want a lot of the businesses at least headquartered in Cincinnati, but we want to encourage growth. And if that means moving outside of Cincinnati, that is a reality. And we're happy for their business to be growing and hopefully them to become more self-sufficient as well. Our first office was a coffee shop. So essentially we were working out every coffee shop that we could, and then one day we had our first article written about Mortar, and we were starting our first class, and this individual that had a space on Vine Street here reached out to us saying, I have the space, I'm barely there, I'd love for you to check it out. We thought it was too good to be true. We looked at it and we're like, oh, this is an awesome space. He's like, yeah, you guys can use it whenever you want. I'll give you the keys and make it your own. And when I'm there, I'll use it, but typically you can just have it as your own space. So then as we're leaving, he says, Alan, and I have this other closet space right next door. Alan goes in with him, and it is essentially a large space with just a broom and a mop and maybe a bucket. And he's like, I've had this dream of always having a pop-up space for entrepreneurs, and this would be the perfect space. He's like, go for it. So from there, that's where we launched our pop-up space right next door to our office, and then our office right there. And eventually he ended up moving out and transferred the lease over to us. So it was unreal, to be honest. And I remember when we had our first pop-up space opening, I was actually in Florida at the time, so they videotaped it for me. But it was beautiful. We had all kinds of city leaders coming out for it. I remember cutting a red ribbon. We all had a couple tears coming out of our eyes, and I think it was the start of something special. What was it? So yeah, the brand is Brick. We have a couple of them. So this one in OTR is called Brick OTR. The idea is Mortar represents the people of the community. What really holds the communities together is Mortar. Brick is actually the brick and mortar of a store. So we have Brick OTR here in Rhine, and we have Brick House up in Walnut Hills. And Brick House represents more of an alumni store for Mortar entrepreneurs that have come through the program that might have some product, so they can sell their product out of there, and we'll have someone actually working at the store, so they don't have to be there actually on location. Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to have some folks take some early risk on us. So P&G Foundation were one of our first folks. Barbara Hauser helps lead that, and she was willing to help push our idea forward. And from there, I think it helped jumpstart us and growing, and to be able to reach out to more folks. So now we're at the point where we're getting some funds from the city of Cincinnati, and actually getting some national grants too, which has been really exciting to see. It was a lot just based on the idea. I think we truly believed in the idea and still truly believe in it. And we had a tentative idea, but there's a lot that we didn't know, and we recognize that, and we are still learning a lot as we go along on what every entrepreneur needs to really succeed. And from that, we had enough folks that believed in the idea that they were willing to take a risk in us. Yeah, so I think after this next graduation in December, we'll have around 180 alumni, which has been incredible to see just over 3 years now. So it's 13 classes. We're working in a number of neighborhoods. We're in 6 neighborhoods now, and hopefully next year continue to expand into additional neighborhoods throughout Cincinnati. One story is Sweets and Meats Barbecue. They start out catering when they're coming through Mortar, and they worked their way up to buy a food truck, in which they're all over Cincinnati. And then just a few months back, they opened up a brick and mortar in Mount Washington. So it's been, and I think they have over 11 employees now, so it's exciting to see their growth. Another one we're really excited about is this guy named Brian Jackson. He's opening up Esoteric Brewery, which is going to be the first minority-owned and operated brewery in Cincinnati, and it's going to be in the old Paramount building in Walnut Hills. So he has the initial pieces done, and the goal is for him to actually launch that in a year from now, which is going to be, I think, a big game changer for Walnut Hills and Cincinnati as well. Honestly, it was a blessing, and I think we are very humbled by that acknowledgement. And I think more so than anything, it helped legitimize our work and help us be able to better serve our entrepreneurs. And that was, for me, that's what was the most important about the acknowledgement. Yeah, so about a year and a half ago, I got heavily involved with the Preschool Promise and its effort to drastically expand quality preschool to 3 and 4 year olds across Cincinnati. It's a major issue we have here in Cincinnati. We have one of the highest childhood poverty rates in the city, and I've seen firsthand from friends, families, kids on how that really does make an impact, having quality preschool. And the fact is that a lot of kids here in Cincinnati don't have that access, and I feel like it's one of the most equitable challenges we have in our city. And so I took part in that campaign and helped lead it with a number of other community leaders to actually pass it last year under issue 44. And so right now it's getting implemented as we speak. At the time, I was actually working for Strive Together, doing a lot of national educational system level work. It was awesome. I think we were doing great work, but we were traveling all the time, and I felt like if I was putting that many hours into my work, I wanted to do more of it here in Cincinnati, in my hometown. And this opportunity came about, and I've seen the importance, and it changed the trajectory of a child's life, and I couldn't let that go by, especially when there's thousands of kids each year not having that opportunity. One is not being scared to fail. I think that's one of the things that holds so many people back, is that fear of failure. When you do fail forward and learn from it and grow from it. I think taking risks is one of the most important things. We have one piece of life here, and I think one of my guiding principles is that one day I'm going to die. So why not put as much as I can into everything and see what I can leave behind for future generations. Yeah, I think one, recognizing that you'll never have all the answers. But at the same time, there are a lot of folks that will support you and help provide you with their knowledge, with their expertise throughout the whole process, especially if you are on the ground building these quality relationships that recognize it's not just yourself. You have a team of folks behind you that want you to succeed and are willing to help you succeed as well. Right, so we have our website, wearemortar.com, which anyone can apply on, but then they can always directly reach out to any of us. Interesting enough, for most of our classes at this point, it's been a lot of word of mouth. We have, I think, over 100 folks in our queue of folks that want to join the program, but still at the same point, we're still doing a lot of community engagement, especially as we go into new neighborhoods, and really hoping to dig up some of the entrepreneurs that might not know this service is available. So hopefully we continue to bring up some of the best entrepreneurs in these communities as these communities develop, that they can really take part in what's happening in their own communities. I think we have the opportunity to make Cincinnati one of the greatest cities in the country, if not the world, if we all come together and really do what we believe is possible together, and continue to take more risk and not be scared of the old ways of our city moving forward.